Well, good morning. It is Tuesday, the 21st day of July 2020. And glad you could join us right here on TV47's Morning Cafe show with me, Linda Alela. As always, it's a pleasure to take you through the day, not really through the day, but to kickstart your day on a very good note. I mean, that guarantees you a good day ahead, as I'll be here to update you, tell you what is happening in the world of news, and importantly, discuss candid issues that affect you, of course, from wherever it is that you are. We take a look at the stories that we have prepared right here, and also what, of course, the newspaper stories have, or what, of course, the newspapers have. And of course, it is always a pleasure to ensure that I get to do that with you. We have a series of activities set for this morning, so you can only tune in and be rest assured that you have a great morning ahead. And as you tune in, it is important that you interact with us. I'd love to hear what you have to say about the subjects that we'll be discussing. I'd also love to hear what you have to say about the stories that have been captured on the newspapers, and much more. Later on the broadcast at around 8 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m., we'll be discussing the mental stability and mental health amongst the police officers. For the longest of time, police brutality is on the rise, and we keep, blaming them, and we keep saying that there's something they are not doing right, that instead of maintaining order, instead of protecting us, they are doing contrary to it. So we get to also have their take. We'll be having a policeman on the other side who's going to take us through what their experiences are, something that is not so common. And most importantly, we delve deep into understanding how we can seek help for them, so together we are able to raise our proper society for that matter. But before that, we take a look at the newspapers, we take a look at the stories that have been prepared by my team, and importantly, we also crunch deeper later on the second segment on these particular stories and the topics that we'll have picked on. So karibu sana, hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela at TV47 is, of course, our Twitter handles, and you can drop your comments down there. You can as well call us live. The numbers will be running down on your screen, and the SMS short code also down on your screen for you to actively interact with us. So let's kickstart, as President Uhuru Kenyatta has scheduled an extraordinary session of the National County Government Coordination Summit set for this Friday following a surge in coronavirus cases. This session will be checking the county's state of preparedness and the effectiveness of the containment measures already in place, as Nanok Loren reports.
In a meeting scheduled for Friday this week, the summit that comprises of the national and county governments is expected to evaluate the county's preparedness and the nation's capacity to fight the novel coronavirus, the effectiveness of the containment measures currently in place, and its impact on the easing of restrictions that were previously in place. The summit will also look at the evolution of the disease and how it may transmit in the months of August and September. The meeting comes at a time the COVID-19 numbers are still on the rise, and more so after cessation of movements and restrictions were eased. From the month of March, when the first COVID-19 case was reported in the country, the number has continued to escalate. In March, only 59 cases were reported, whereas in April, 337 cases were reported. May documented 1,566 cases, which rose to 4,398 cases in June. In the month of July alone, for the past 20 days, a total of 7,414 cases have been recorded. From figures, a larger number has been reported in a span of 14 days since President Uhuru Kenyatta eased the movement restrictions in the country, with a total amounting to 5,713 cases, after 418 were reported to be positive today. The fraction having amounted to 41.49% against the national tally. Kenyans, however, have been seen to have resumed life as normal despite the spike in these numbers.
Let us not for a moment forget what this physical and social distancing means. We must be aware of that at all times and maintain those distances, because that is the way the virus spreads.
Nanok Loren, TV47.
And meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has noted with regret the don't care attitude amongst Kenyans in regard to adherence to the COVID-19 containment measures. The ministry has noted that bars and restaurants are operating beyond curfew hours while flouting the spelled measures, making the COVID-19 breeding grounds. Mwangi Minor reports.
According to the Ministry of Health, Kenyans have thrown COVID-19 containment measures to the wind as the country witnesses surging numbers and COVID-19 related deaths on a daily basis. To some, COVID-19 is no longer a matter of concern.
That the more cases we are reporting of COVID-19, the more we are seeing Kenyans taking to the bus, and some very late in the evenings. I thought the guidelines were very clear that where bars remain closed. And in his address to the nation on 6th July, the President insisted that the bars had to remain closed.
In the past few days, we have continued to witness misbehavior by some Kenyans, including some of our leaders who are hell-bent on flouting all measures that have been put in place. I am saddened that particularly here in Nairobi, where the numbers are growing in their hundreds every day, a lot of people do not seem to care.
The ministry is now concerned that bars have opened and are operating way past curfew hours. The government says the bars will be dealt with in accordance to the law.
So anyone who is serving a beer in a sitting arrangement is contravening the presidential directive. So only stern action can be taken against such. And the ministry, with the conjunction with other relevant authorities, are working on this. And as the CS said, some may have to be closed, but not just closed. I think there's a legal notice in the process. And punitive action will be taken against it, not just closing the restaurants.
44 counties have so far recorded cases of COVID-19, save for Elgeyo Marakwet, West Pokot and Samburu counties. The Ministry of Health is calling on Kenyans to adhere to the measures set out, adding that the virus is widely spread in communities and with a rise in community transmissions.
We are aware that some people are not taking this disease seriously, and some do not even believe in the figures given by the government. This is not true, my friends.
Nairobi is leading with 7,744 cases, followed by Mombasa, which has 1,825 cases, and Kiambu County coming third with 769 cases. Kajiado has recorded 694 cases, with border counties of Busia and Machakos reporting 635 cases and 372 cases, respectively. Other counties that have recorded high numbers include Migori, Nakuru, Uasin Gishu, Kilifi, Makueni and Kwale counties.
As the country continues to record high numbers of COVID-19 on a daily basis, Kenyans have continued to disregard measures put in place by the Ministry of Health to combat the spread of coronavirus. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
And now the Ministry of Health is now blaming the police for failing to take action on political leaders who have been holding political rallies against the COVID-19 containment measures. Political leaders across the country have been holding meetings even after President Uhuru Kenyatta extended the ban on political gatherings.
The political leaders in Western Kenya have been holding series of meetings in full violation of COVID-19 restriction measures. Devolution CS Eugene Wamalwa and Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya have had several meetings in the region. The president, in his address to the nation on 6th July, extended the ban on political meetings. Thousands of supporters to those political leaders have been flooding in those meetings, contravening the government directives. The Ministry of Health, however, is now blaming the police for failing to take action against those holding such meetings.
Okay. As far as following up on who has broken a regulation and what should be done, I think that is now government machinery that will swing in and take the necessary action that is required.
Meanwhile, the government has refuted claims that at least 2 cabinet secretaries have tested positive for COVID-19. This comes even as a government spokesperson, Cyrus Oguna, dismissed reports of being hospitalized in a city hospital after testing positive for the virus.
I don't know about any CSEs who were tested and who turned out positive. Honestly, I do not know. I don't know if my colleagues here know.
And Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja will be arraigned in court today for contravening COVID-19 measures. Now, Sakaja, who presented himself at Kilimani Police Station, has also apologized to Kenyans and resigned from the Senate's ad hoc committee on corona.
Speaking after presenting himself at the Kilimani Police Station to record a statement, the senator admitted his mistake and said he will take full responsibility. Sakaja was arrested on Saturday in the company of 3 others in a city bar, contravening COVID-19 measures.
I, number one, take responsibility for having flouted the COVID rules on Friday. I was outside my home after 9, and that is against the rules. I apologize to Kenyans, and I will pay the full consequence of the law. It is regrettable, but all of us make mistakes. And so on that aspect, I do take responsibility, and indeed I want to urge Kenyans to follow the government's directives.
However, the senator took issue with the conduct of police officers after the incident, claiming that they intimidated his family. The senator denied allegations that he threatened police officers during his arrest and accused them of using excessive force against him.
And as I've said, I will bear responsibility for the legal issues. But the fact that the whole of Saturday and Sunday, more than 50 officers brandishing guns have been going to my residence, I'm not a fugitive. My children have not committed any crime. Why come intimidate them with guns? 50 officers. I am not on the run. I called Ndolo, I told him, if you want me to appear, I'm a leader, I'll appear. Sijatishia mtu, sina nguvu ya kufuta mtu kazi, ama kutransfer mtu. Ni vile ile mambo mengine ambayo iliendelea, ndio ilinionyesha ni mambo mengine. Yaani hadi hata kupigwa ngumi, mimi.
Sakaja has in the meantime resigned from the Senate's ad hoc committee on COVID-19 and is set to appear at Milimani Law Courts tomorrow.
He has already paid cash bail, I think of some 10,000 shillings. So he'll not be in custody. He'll appear in court tomorrow.
And Monday, celebrated actor Papa Shirandula Charles Bukeko was laid to rest at his home in Namisi Village, Busia County. Bukeko died of COVID-19 at Karen Hospital in Nairobi last week. Micah Gwongo reports from Busia.
It is at Namisi Village in Funyula constituency, Busia County, where the body of the renowned actor was laid to rest. Bukeko is the firstborn son to Mr. Cosmas Bukeko Wafula. Papa Shirandula passed on Friday last week. According to his widow, Beatrice Ndenga, the actor died at Karen Hospital in Nairobi in his car while waiting to be booked in at the hospital.
I went to Karen Hospital. Admission was just another process. I'm telling you, please, he needs support and an emergency. The time they're still preparing, he passed on while I'm sitting in the vehicle.
She states she had earlier asked Papa to undergo various tests, but she discovered he only availed COVID-19 test, which are the only tests he underwent at the hospital.
And I told him, make sure they carry out 3 tests on you. They carry pneumonia, malaria, and the COVID-19. I told him COVID-19 because you are mingling with so many people. I told him pneumonia and malaria because the weather is too cold in Nairobi. I told him make sure there are 3. He told me okay. He went on Monday. Then he came back saying they are a test. They are waiting for the results. Come on Wednesday, I asked him, the doctor has got the results, yes. And he had all the results, but the only one I'm seeing here is the one of COVID-19. What about the rest?
His family, including his mother, Valerie Wafula, and father, Mr. Cosmas Bukeko Wafula, eulogizing the late as a family man who was social.
I will reserve my comments mpaka baadaye ndio tutakuja kukaa.
Mtoto huyo ndio wangu, ndio tegemeo letu hapa. Ndio mambo yote hapa, bila mnatuona hivi. Hatuna uwezo wote saa hii.
Fellow comedians in the country with whom he worked eulogized him as down-to-earth and generous man who was ready to nurture young talents.
Tumepoteza gwiji ambayo amelea watu wengi sana, ikiwamo hata mimi. Yeye kutokana na hicho kipindi cha Papa ndio nilipata hata idea ya kufanya mshamba.
Yaani ile uchungu ambayo tunasikia kwa roho ni kitu ambacho hakiwezi kuelezeka. Sijui niseme nini. Imenishtua tu kama vile imeshtua watu wengi sana.
Mr. Charles Bukeko amebadilisha maisha yangu. Ile maisha naishi sasa hivi, ile experience nimekuwa nayo, zile vitu mingi ambazo nimefanya katika maisha yangu na katika maisha yangu ya usanii ni Charles Bukeko amezikuza.
Tumekuwa tukipanga kipindi kipya ambacho alinipigia akiniuliza namba za wasanii tofauti, akiwapatia nafasi ya kazi. Na bahati mbaya ameenda hata kabla mimi nifanye ile kazi amenipatia niweze kufanya.
Papa leaves behind a widow and 3 children.
Tumepoteza.
And after a short illness, Papa Shirandula's life, full of hope and admiration, has just ended right here in this grave in Namisi village, Funyula constituency, county of Busia. Reporting for TV 47 from Busia County, I'm Mike Kagwango.
May his soul rest in eternal peace. President Uhuru Kenyatta has conferred 24 advocates to the state's senior council. The 24 include Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, na Kenya Martha Karua, Dr. Faxon Wainaina Kagwe, O.M. Prakash Nagpal, Pravan Kumar Bori, Charles Waweru Gatonye, and Ruta Athiambo. Others are Frederick Ngatia, Mohamed Nyaoga, Albert Muma, Buta Aluhava, Siganga, and Kiragu Kimani. Others are Judy Thongori, Taib Ali Taib, Kioko Kilukumi, and Patricia Maende Nyaundi. The Law Society of Kenya had cancelled the conferment of senior council ranked 24 lawyers in May this year. This followed questioning of the impartiality of the Committee on Senior Council recommendation.
The race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta as Mount Kenya region's kingpin is slowly intensifying, with meetings ongoing in the region and the city 2 years ahead of Uhuru's retirement. Although refuting the claims, a section of leaders from the region have recently held closed-door meetings discussing Uhuru's succession. Some of the prospect candidates in the region include former Gatanga MP Peter Kenneth, former Agriculture CS and TSP party leader Mwangi Kiunjuri, Murang'a Governor Mwangi Wairia, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Mombe Waiguru, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe, Agriculture CS Peter Munya, and with the sly entrance of former Gatanga MP Peter Kenneth back into national politics, eliciting mixed reactions, a section of Murang'a leaders have endorsed him as their preferred candidate and proposing the former legislature for a seat in the cabinet.
We are saying the president, once he reconstitutes his cabinet, let him consider one of us, that is Peter Kenneth. We are rallying behind him. We know he can do a good job if appointed to a senior position. We are united. You can see last time we were in Gatanga, we were several members of parliament. We are now here in Murang'a. We are also a group of members of parliament from Murang'a County.
We also wanted to tell them that what the president is proposing, we are in support. That one of ours, Peter Kenneth, is going to be amongst the reshuffle that will be done. And standing there to represent Murang'a County, he gives a very good picture, because we know what Peter Kenneth has done during the time he was MP Gatanga 2 times. And this is a figure that is known in Western region, Nyanza, Eastern Coast. So this is a face that we would not shy of.
A group of leaders allied to the Deputy President William Ruto have criticized those drumming up support for Peter Kenneth, saying there are a lot of leaders from the region who fit the bill in succeeding President Kenyatta. A section of cabinet secretaries from the region have been said to have met over the weekend. Mumbi Chege, TV 47.
Well, that's a different clip altogether. Apologies for that. Mr. Director, do we have the right clip, or we proceed to the next story? All right, let's proceed to the next story. That's all about Mount Kenya region politics. But that aside, Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia, alongside other 3 cabinet secretaries, toured the Western region to inspect development projects in the region and the official launch of a 40-kilometer road from Bagadia to Misihu. The 1 billion shilling project was started by Bungoma County government to open up Tongaren constituency.
Leo ni dakika 35. In his tour to the Western Region counties, Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia launched the second phase of the 40-kilometer road from Brigadier to Misiku, a project that will cost up to 1 billion Kenya shillings.
Wakati Governor Lusaka alikuwa governor hapa, alikuwa ananipigia simu kila siku kwa sababu ya hii barabara. Na nikasema leo tutazindua hii barabara. Tumesikia maombi yenu ya ile section kutoka Brigadier kwenda Matunda, kilomita 8. Waziri mwenyewe alikuwa ameniambia, na halafu hata mheshimiwa Eseli amesema, na hata governor wa Gamati amesema. Kwa hivyo tukirudi Nairobi, hiyo pesa ya kilomita 8 tutatafuta.
Speaking during the launch, Macharia warned the contractor, who has been blamed for poor workmanship, saying they will be inspecting the quality of work done after every project is completed.
There's a problem. Kuna shida hapa. Kwa sababu is not a chance by chance ya kwamba kila kiongozi akisimama hapa anasema hii contractor amefanya kazi baya. Sasa nimesikia, na kama tumesema, sasa hii pesa milioni 700 inatoka kule national government. Na ajue contractor, nikwambie, I'll be coming here to check the quality of the work being done.
The 40-kilometer road project, which was started in 2016, costed the national government approximately 1 billion shillings.
Tuko na mawaziri watatu. Kwa nini? Sababu ya barabara zetu Western Kenya. Hii barabara tukimaliza, tunaelekea ile ya Musikoma kwenda Navaholo. Hiyo ina connect Bungoma County na Kakamega. Dunia itajua Vihiga County has the finest granite on the African continent.
Meanwhile, the 15-kilometer Gisambai-Shamahoko road, which will cost the national government 1 billion shillings, is among other projects that will be executed in Vihiga County. Andrin Kilemi, for TV 47.
Meanwhile, the current hospital refuted claims that the late popular actor Charles Bukeko, alias Papa Shirandula, was not attended to at the hospital. In a statement yesterday evening, the hospital has refuted the medical negligence claims by the deceased wife. And on that note, we take a short break. Remember, it's important that you keep interacting with us, keep sending in those messages, and of course, you can drop us your comments on social media, #MorningCafe at Linda_Alela at TV47, and we'll get to sample some of your comments as we proceed with the show. We take a short break. We'll be right back with much more. right, and we're trying to get a hold of the panelists this morning on the newspaper review. Still trying to keep touch on the same, but let's proceed as we take a look at some of the key stories that have been covered in these newspapers. We'll be taking a look at the Standard newspaper and the People Daily, where the COVID-19 billions, the government says that it has pumped billions to fight COVID-19, but health workers say they are risking their lives handling, of course, patients without sufficient personal protective gears or equipment. Where is the cash that has been set for that? Captured on page 4 and 5. I think it's a question that has been asked by many amid, of course, talks or allegations of corruption deals within the Ministry of Health and also, of course, in government in regards to how best they're dealing with COVID-19. The donations that have come from different parts of the world, the EU itself, even the donations of the kits actually from Jack Ma, still not so clear as to where they are, and something that raises eyebrows as to how much the government is indeed committed and how many, of course, individuals within the government are willing to see this fight a successful one, as captured on page 4 and 5. And set to fail, President Uhuru Kenyatta's multi-billion court rules, as of course special repeat highlights the Huduma number of transport and affordable housing and the Big Four agenda at large are projects that have been marred by legal hurdles and tussles as it stands, and of course captured on page 2 and 3 of the Standard newspaper, expounded some more on that. And crossing over to page 11, Papa Shirandula Barida's cases shoot to 13,771. Those are the current cases that we have, COVID-19 cases reported. And the curse of Kenya, betrayal from holding political rallies, right, of course, and parties, and selective enforcement of the law. Politicians and cabinet secretaries are behaving badly as pandemic ravages the country. We'll be looking at that, delve deep into that later on in the discussion, captured on page 6 of the Standard newspaper. Those are the key stories that we have right here on the on the Standard newspaper. And also take a look at the front page of the People Daily, which is actually what we have some more expounded. And Uhuru makes Kalonzo Karua Senior Counsel. Page 2, as you can see, the faces of some of the people who've been made senior counsels right there: Philip Murgo, Amolo Nyaoga, Kilukumi, and many more. There are 24 of them. And the question we asked this morning is just how legit was this appointment or this, of course, conferring. So we'll be discussing that later on also on the broadcast as we proceed. But it is captured extensively on page 2 of the People Daily. And I feel just fine after testing positive. That is Jeff Koinange on COVID-19 test. Renowned journalist right here in the country, works with the Royal Media Services, has come out to, and reveal to tell the people about his COVID-19 status, says that he was tested positive, but of course depicting a symptomatic, like really on a symptomatic basis, so that he's not been able to experience the symptoms of COVID-19. And of course everyone wishes him well as he continues to call upon us to be vigilant. Captured on page 4 extensively of the People Daily, even as we take a look at the numbers as they stand right now: 13,771, as we have said right here. And these are the total number of COVID-19 cases so far since we registered the first case. And this is as of yesterday's address. 5,616 have recovered so far, which is some good news right there. 238 deaths so far have been registered. And 418 cases were tested yesterday, tested positive in the last 24 hours, as of course captured right here from 2,406, 361 samples. That is the number of total samples that have been tested so far right here in the country. And the cases as per counties as captured right here, we now have almost all the counties having recorded a case each, or at least a case. Nairobi has the numbers right there: 8,036, Mombasa 1,841, Kiambu, Kajiado, Busia. All these counties have at least cases of COVID-19. And remember this meeting that President Uhuru Kenyatta has set on Friday to see to it that they evaluate the performance of the counties in how best we've been able to deal with COVID-19. And the impact still of coronavirus, members of parliament offices shut and employees ordered to work from home in movement to check spread of coronavirus, as Speaker Muturi bans committee meetings and advises legislatures to hold virtual deliberations, captured on page 4. The biggest question is, I thought this would have been the case from the word go, but of course we know members of parliament considered as essential caregivers or service providers. So this made the reports that have been recorded. The Speaker, that is Justin Muturi, says that I hereby further direct that all committee sittings are suspended until Tuesday, 28th of July. That should be next week, raising a picture of how tough times are and how COVID-19 has hit even the government offices as it stands right now. Remember, also State House was not left out of this, Treasury itself and all these other offices. And bringing the question as to how much we are prepared as a country in dealing with COVID-19. Coming to page 2, Uhuru confers senior council status on Kalonzo, and 23 others, like I said, will be delving deep into understanding this. This even has helped invites applications for 2020-2021 programs amid the stalemate on matters education as it stands today. The Higher Education Loans Board has invited applications for first-time students in the 2020-2021 financial year. Undergraduate programs, you can take a hold of that, as we said, and as much as there's still a hullabaloo as to whether we should proceed and reopen institutions, the fact remains is that programs have to continue, and there you go, you can take advantage of that to apply. And Irate Youth Disrupt MCA's tour in Kirinyaga. Members of the Kirinyaga County Assembly Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation were forced to cut short their fact-finding tour in Mwea Irrigation Scheme after a group of youth stormed their meetings and caused chaos. The team had visited the expansive Rise Irrigation Scheme for a fact-finding mission after a group of farmers petitioned the Committee of a Water Distribution route, and begs the question as to just how much our politicians are flouting the COVID-19 rules and measures, moving around and conducting the meetings as though it's business as usual. And of course, this is pretty much unfortunate. That story that has touched on partial lockdown for Parliament as offices shut. I think this one is expounded extensively right here. And on the alleged cases of COVID-19 in Parliament, Speaker Justin Muturi says one of the affected members have been treated and discharged and is currently in self-isolation. The other case has also been attended to, and the member is now in stable condition in the general ward care. He says that he had deliberately given the information to reassure the public and dissuade the speculations that have been going on. Remember, from the word go, there were speculations that members of Parliament had recorded numerous cases of COVID-19, but of course the Speaker has disputed that. That story of Jeff Koinange, who says he feels just fine even after testing positive of COVID-19. And that one that I had said also, that Uhuru and governors are set to review the status of COVID-19 preparedness at COVID-19, the way we're dealing with COVID-19, especially at the county level, and even as the virus has also struck all at the president's office, where a senior official tested positive on and is currently on self-quarantine. So President Uhuru Kenyatta's concern is that there's been an alarming rate and a surge of numbers of COVID-19 infections, and he needs to ensure that this special meeting is consequently going to address the issues or assess the state at which of the pandemic, or the state at which, of course, we are able to deal with the pandemic as it stands right now, and with the disease now recorded 44 out of the 47 counties. So we say that 44 counties already have recorded cases, and we just about how many? 3 left, and in the entire, of course, country, or all the counties will have recorded at least a case of COVID-19. So we'll be taking a look at that, following up on the same to see whether indeed we'll be able to have that addressed. Police launch hunt for NHIF official who vanished on a Friday afternoon, and of course this amid talks of or allegations of corruption at this particular helm. And there you go. I mean, probably this is something that we'll be following up, a developing story, and we get to update you accordingly. Public servants on the spot over reckless conduct. This is something that we'll be looking at later on the broadcast. Head of Public Service Kinyua directs that staff above 58 and those with medical issues to work from home, which is something that has been flouted. And also on that talk of members of parliament going against what is expected or what is stipulated in terms of the measures that are set to deal with COVID-19. Alarm as 34 remandees test positive for COVID-19. Also, of course, in our prisons, the cases continue to go high and fear is rife in Kiambu County. After 34 remandees, 6 people, officers from various police stations tested positive for COVID-19. Away from that, let's take a look at whether we have another story. Shirandula's wife lays blame on hospital for actor's death, and I think the hospital has come out to dispute that. And Sakaja, of course, apologizes for flouting the COVID-19 rules and regulations and stepping out from the ad hoc committee that is scheduled, or that has been scheduled, or has been dealing with the issue of COVID-19. We discussed that later on. APRA, as politicians flout safety rules endanger lives. I think we've touched on that also. And even as, of course, we continue to highlight the numbers as it stands across Africa and the global fraternity. CSS tour stalled projects in Western, and the ministers would also inspect other projects in the region, including challenges affecting industries. So, of course, this is also set to probably make the best of Western region in terms of ensuring that there's a boost on the projects that have been set on board, but still begs the question as to how much careful we are, or our leaders are, in terms of ensuring that they deal with COVID-19. As one would have argued that they're still in duty as essential caregivers, but it's important that they are careful, because out of this you also realize that there's so much politicking that keeps going on. And here we are, contempt of court warrant out for cop in HS's gun. That's still on matters, of course, graft, and Chesa, you know very well that he's been embattled to a point whereby he was ousted out of his office at Sports CS amid allegations of matters corruption. So the cases have been ongoing, sometimes in his favor, sometimes, of course, not favoring him. People arguing that it is political witch hunt based on the fact that he's been in support of Deputy President William Ruto. That aside, of course, to the cartoon edition, things Kenyans don't want to hear at this time when we're dealing with COVID-19. So they do not want to hear anything to do with the BBI. 2022 politics, Team Kieleweke or Tanga Tanga, talking about the referendum, talking about Team Tanga Tanga, or talking about the politicians. And they say it is time now that we deal with COVID-19. None of the leaders seems to be having our interests at heart. But just how genuine are we, and how much are we indeed sweeping off some of these issues? And as they would say, a majority of them also argue that, in as much as there's COVID-19, life has to go on. If it is politics, then lazima tuchape siasa. So that is something that is, of course, that those are the stories that have been captured on the People's Daily. Some bit of the international scene. And Portland protest, Trump threatens to send off officers to more U.S. cities. This is courtesy of BBC. And yes, here we are. Mr. Trump on Monday criticized the number of cities run by liberal Democrats, including Chicago and New York, saying that their leaders were afraid to act. He said that officers sent to Oregon had done a fantastic job restoring order amid days of protest in the Portland. And local officials say the federal officers are making matters worse. And the argument on ground is that Trump has no capacity, or should not be the person who is deciding on this, or deploying more officers or enforcers to different parts of the country. And of course, to a different story still, courtesy of BBC, Russia report long-awaited publication to detail threat on to UK. And of course, nearly a year and a half after it was completed, the report will be published by Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee. That is today. It has been a long time coming, but the British public are finally about to see the details of the Russia report. And of course, it comes after allegations of Russian interference in last year's election, which the Kremlin has said are false. And for the longest of time, Russia has been considered as, a key figure in most of the elections in some of these key, of course, superpowers, also the interference in the U.S. elections and all that. So we wait to see what this report will entail and how much of impact it will be between the two countries. And Bar Rafaeli, Israel convicts model of tax evasion. That is Israel convict top model Bar Rafaeli has been given a large fine and sentenced to 9 months of community service for evading taxes. And that aside, not very much important. Hali shooting. All right, just let's see. China warns UK of consequences over Hong Kong interference. We know very well that there's been protests in Hong Kong and, of course, in China, that is, as these people complain of marginalization and arguing that maybe it's time that they go their way. So the UK will bear the consequences if it continues to go down the wrong road on Hong Kong. China has warned. That is on Monday. The UK suspended an extradition treaty with Hong Kong over a new security law for the ex-colony, which gives Beijing more power. So in response to this, the Chinese ambassador in London said that the UK had blatantly interfered in China's affairs. Of course, in regards to this, numerous Hong Kong protests that have been ongoing, and the residents say that they need the chance to settle in the UK, allowing them to ultimately apply for British citizenship. And that aside, let's take a look at this other one. Yes, very positive. UK vaccine prompts immune response in trials, and early results indicate that Oxford University's COVID-19 vaccine is safe and triggers immune response. And we wait to see whether indeed this will come in handy. But the question at hand is just how much are the vulnerable countries across the world able to access some of this vaccine at that point when, of course, it will be out and rolling and considered well in terms of addressing the issues or taming the COVID-19 spread, and also the cases right here in the country, the United Kingdom equally ordering numerous numbers for that particular matter, raising the question as to just how much the likes of Africa, the sub-Saharan Africa, is going to be able to access or hold their hand on this. But we wait to see whether indeed it will sail through. Once it sails through, indeed it's going to be a sigh of relief and hope, of course, and caution at this particular time when the world is dealing with COVID-19 across. And here you are, more like it, I think, some bit of African stories. Let's take a look at these. Egypt's parliament authorized the deployment of troops outside the country of Monday. This is on Libya. Yes, Egypt's parliament approves a troop deployment to Libya, and move comes as Libya government and Turkey demand on end of foreign intervention in support of Commander Khalifa Haftar. We know very well that it's not been a peace at all in Libya, so we wait to see whether indeed this is going to come in handy to at least bring in some level of sanity. Deployment of officers down there. The parliament unanimously approved the deployment of these members of the Egyptian armed forces on combat mission outside Egypt's borders to defend Egyptian national security against criminal armed militias and foreign terrorist elements, in, of course, a statement that was captured. Of course, this trying to protect the regional's, balance and regional security. It is pretty much important because the case has been an issue across, this courtesy of African News. And I think on that very note, it's important that we call it Roundup. And of course, as we cross over to the next segment altogether, taking a look at the stories that I've talked about, we'll be taking a look at the conferment of 24 senior councils by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Take a look at how much our leaders have been defiant in dealing with COVID-19 set rules. And also we take a look at the status of COVID-19 right here in the country, and so much more after this break. Keep the messages coming and be on standby to make that phone call once we are able to loop in with the panel of the day. After this break, we'll be right back. right, welcome back to Morning Cafe, and joining me on the current affairs segment this morning is Nathaniel Kadima, ANC youth leader, and Wafula Kalistas, who's actually the head and the chair, J Networks Lobby. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. It's time that we expound some more on these discussions or the issues that are taking center stage right now. And one that we'll start with is on just how much our leaders or our members of parliament, or generally, of course, people in governance, are flouting the COVID-19 rules aimlessly. And, you know, this is not the first time that we're talking about this. I think almost a month ago, I remember the CS for Matters Education coming out on the podium and saying that no politician is allowed to move around, politic and everything. But that's not what we've seen today. And it's actually even worse because it's escalating to something else. Looking at Sakaja's case or scenario the other day, looking at what Boni Khalwale was doing the other day, it is pretty much unfortunate that we're still talking about this at this point in time. Gentlemen.
Yes. Linda, I think what I can say, our politicians are used to these issues of breaking laws. And therefore, even the restriction that the president, people have been disregarding the directive of the government in combating COVID-19. And that is the reason why these people have been spreading virus across the country because Kenyans were restricted. But the COVID-19 has kept on, the number has kept on rising. This means politicians were permitted by the government because this government is not taking serious whatever they are telling Kenyans to do. If they are serious, they could have arraigned thousands of people in a court of law. And these are the politicians. Because the politicians are the agent of COVID-19. That is the truth of the matter. All these politicians, you can find one politician has got over 100 girlfriends because he has money. That's why they are traversing from one county to another, transferring the virus. Therefore, the issue of Sakaja, to me, based on Chapter 6, he needs to be arraigned in a court of law and he needs to be jailed so that he loses that seat to serve as an example. We can't continue with the people breaking the law, and these are lawmakers. I think Sakaja should serve as an example. The issues of apologizing. There are so many Kenyans who have apologized and they are rotting in jail. Therefore, let the law take its own course, and we want to see them facing the law, just like Waluke case. Yes,
all right.
We can't continue with the issues, people disregarding the law. They force Kenyans to abide by the law. Then the same people are the one breaking the law.
It's pretty much unfortunate, and I don't know if we have Nathaniel. Nathaniel, you're there, because it's unfortunate that politicians from Mulembe Nation are notorious for this. Is it a fact, or you think it cuts across?
I think, first of all, good morning to the viewers. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
I want to just say that this is an issue that cuts across board without specifically affecting the Mulembe Nation, or rather the former Western region. First of all, you must notice that Kenya has two judicial systems. And the first judicial system is for the rich, and the other judicial system is for the poor. And as Kalistas has mentioned, there is nothing unique or nothing to surprise many Kenyans that we have that kind of two judicial systems. Because you will find politicians who will break the law, and they will expect the ordinary masses of the poor people to observe and abide by the law. It is normal, it has happened, it has been happening. It is not something that can take us by surprise. That is point number one. And number two, since COVID-19 started and the president announced certain containment measures, we have seen quite a lot of movements, especially from the political class, against what the Minister of Health is announcing. But they are disregarding those kind of containment measures, and that's why we are seeing the coronavirus spreading now. It is at the community level. We are seeing the numbers surging. every day. And these numbers are partly contributed because of these illegal political gatherings. And some of these gatherings, sections of politicians who are allied to the government are allowed, and sections of other politicians who are not aligned to the handshake are not allowed. We have seen other people being tear gassed in their homes. So that's why I'm saying there are two sets of rules in this republic. And it is noteworthy that these kind of scenarios are endangering the lives of the poor masses who don't have food. They don't even have access to basic things like a sanitizer or a face mask. So we must say in uncertain terms that we need to reset the country in a manner that let everybody follow the rules. If the president announces certain containment measures, let those measures be followed by everybody, including the president himself. So the issue of Sakaja coming out, first of all, I really feel for him because he is somebody who has put his public image in a manner that is a man of honor and dignity. And all of a sudden, the millions of Kenyans who used to follow him, I think they are disappointed, seeing that a man of his caliber who has put his image of a well demeanor, being found drinking at night, violating the rules. I'm not going to make a comment that a radical measure should be taken against him. I'm just feeling for him the disappointment. I can imagine millions of Kenyans who are looking up to him for his leadership, the image he has cultivated. And it is a good thing when you see a man of his caliber to come out and apologize and even with resign. I will disagree with my co-panelist here that the resignation and the apology is the kind of things we need from leaders who take responsibility.
Don't you think it was, would you suppose then that this was strategic in a way, looking at how we are trying to manage or to deal with the issue of COVID-19 and sitting as the chair of a panel that is set to equally spearhead on how best we can successfully fight and, win this fight, then you realize that at some point in time, maybe upon realization that, the fight is not as easy as it may look, he probably decided that he's going to do something that is against the law. So at least he finds a way of exiting the stage. Is it that maybe there's so much burden on this particular committee so that maybe Sakaja was trying his way out? Could it be strategic in any way?
First of all, I don't want to come out and appear like I want to defend Sakaja in any way. He has not hired me as his lawyer or lobbyist. The point is, I don't think it is strategic. Yeah. He is a man maybe who was found in the wrong place at the wrong time. Probably what we read in the press is that he was playing loud music and neighbors were complaining. So they called in the police. So he was just found out, and then the issue has now been magnified politically. And he has been forced to defend his image. That's why you have seen him too hurriedly coming to the press and saying, I'm sorry. And it is perhaps going to work for him, because when you say you are sorry for the mistakes you do, everybody makes mistakes. It is going to work out for him. But I'm sure he has disappointed millions of Kenyans. But far beyond that, I think leaders must learn how to, when the president is making those measures or announcing the measures, you should not preach water and then you are drinking wine. People must follow the same set of rules, and that is the country we must perfect or work towards.
All right. And what way for this committee, Wafula Kalistas, to bring you in, even as we continue to deal with COVID-19? I mean, it would be a blow, of course, to lose a chairperson who's been sitting right there from the time of its inception. And this particular time now he's out of it. And I mean, what next? When do they get to quickly, of course, have another chair who will sit in and ensure that they proceed very well from where they had gone, or from where they, of course, Sakaja has left it?
I think they should just replace him, because if instead of his violating COVID-19 regulation, how will he going to help us deal with the situation? I think they need to replace him. There are so many people, senators, who are better than him. Maybe they have not gotten the opportunity. Me, I just support that they replace him immediately. Then we focus, let him handle his case. And based on Chapter 6 of our Constitution on indicted issues, I think he could do better if he could have resigned as a senator. So this we resigning halfway, I think that is just a PR show that they are used to. We need people to be held accountable for their mistakes. Just like the way Waluke has been dealt with. I think the government should not select people, should not fight those who lawbreakers. They should not fight people selectively. Let people face the law, and those who are planning to pray for Waluke, I think they are supposed to be stopped, because that is incitement. You can't incite. If someone has a case and has been taken in a court of law, the due process has been followed, if he found guilty, you don't go out there trying to pray for him. There are millions of Kenyans or thousands of Kenyans who are in jail. I've never seen a politician organizing a prayer rally to pray for their people, villagemen. Therefore, we are telling them that the moment they started taking advantage of our resources, that's the moment they started misbehaving, breaking the law. And you see how Sakaja was talking. It's because he knows he has money. And those money that he is having are Kenyans' money. This is the right time we need to look into our laws and know how we can bring fairness in our country. But because politicians are taking advantage of our resources.
Just what
these are the resources that are making them become stubborn.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Just what is with these politicians, of course, coming together to support their own? Now that you're talking about Waluke and some, politicians coming out, in prayer and arguing that, well, this is a political witch hunt meted against him. And to loop in what, of course, we're talking about Cleopas Malala, one of the few who came out to, fire shots at Sakaja. But then again, the members of parliament, other, leaders came guns blazing on him, said that he actually had to pull down his tweet. Well, what is considered as an offensive tweet against Senator Sakaja. And, you see politicians in rush to protect and to defend and to urge Senator Sakaja not to step down or not to resign from this committee. What is it with politicians trying to sanitize their very own? Nathaniel?
I think they are doing so because... Yes. Okay.
Sanitization is something that has been ongoing since COVID-19 started.
Yeah.
We saw people talking so much about sanitization at Capitol Hill and so many other places.
Yeah.
So it is not amusing that we are seeing the likes of Cleophas Malala trying to defend Sakaja, who has already taken responsibility for their actions. So that it is in order for somebody like Cleophas Malala to come out and say that the Senate should not accept the resignation of Sakaja. It is hogwash. It is something that should be young people. And I think the reason why he pulled down the tweet, it is basically because the people rose up against such tweets and such kind of thinking. So we must start raining on our fellow young people and correct them and tell them that the purpose we sent you to the Senate. And it's very unfortunate that Cleophas Malala comes from my party. We regret such kind of actions from such a vibrant young man that we have sent to the party to legislate on important issues affecting Kenyans, especially at this moment. We are having a stalemate that is going to tear the country apart in terms of revenue sharing. So I am disappointed in this group of young leaders who should be showing direction to the country and rising up to defend millions of Kenyans, particularly young people who are suffering at the moment. And you will notice that right now, many people have relapsed into unemployment, underemployment, incomes are shrinking, people are suffering. They cannot put food on the table. And we are having a stalemate in the Senate in the name of revenue sharing formula. Those are the kind of things we should be seeing the likes of Cleophas Malala tweeting about. So not this kind of disappointments on side shows that we never send them to Parliament to do.
One would want to ask this. Is this a genuine concern, or is just because maybe in a way, of course, Cleopas Malala rubbed the party the wrong way to a point of, talks of expulsion, and later on was saved by the Registrar of Political Parties?
Linda, you must notice something, that political parties are supposed to self-regulate themselves.
Yeah.
Essentially, a political party like ANC, which we are championing for, should be given room to self-regulate. In that sense, the registered political party is supposed to have minimum restraint in terms of trying to reject certain things from the party.
Yeah.
Party loyalty and discipline is something personally I champion for. Whichever political formation Cleophas Malala goes to, even if he were to move to ODM or Jubilee or any other political party, that political party will still expect him to be disciplined. And you cannot take it lightly when a political party wants to correct an errant member. For instance, during the Kibra by-election, we had a candidate as a party who was called, Owalo. And we expected that all members of our party, including Cleophas Malala, should come out and support the party candidate. But he went ahead to campaign for a candidate of a rival political party.
Is this
Do you
not
expect
democracy?
the party
Is it not democracy?
to laugh about it? Sorry?
Is it not democracy?
No, when you sign up to be a member of ANC, there are things that you sign up for. When you are appending your signature saying, I will abide by the decisions, the rules, including the constitution of the party. One of them is that when the rank and file of the party makes a decision and says that we have issued a ticket to a candidate, then it is expected that all party members are supposed to support that candidate. And you cannot promote or campaign for a candidate from a rival political party. So that is the kind of discipline. Sorry?
It seems like there's a lot of confusion in most of the Mulembe Nation parties that we have today. Of course, Ford Kenya not enjoying anything good from this case. And equally, some members of parliament or maybe some leaders who are, of course, elected courtesy of ODM equally are not in the best of stand. And even those ones elected or are in office courtesy of Jubilee are still not in the best of stand. Wafula Kalistas, what is wrong with the Mulembe Nation?
I think they should stop washing their dirty linen in public because whatever I've been seeing happening is like Musalia and Wetangula are aspiring to become paramount chief. That kind of politics is outdated, and we must tell them that if they really want to serve the country, they need to. I want to see them in Nairobi here, trying to meet people. Having forums with people, chatting on the issues to do with the country. You can't aspire to become the president, then you face the camera, then you start talking about the Luhya unit as if you are going to serve Luhyas. I think Musalia and Wetangula, I say it and I can repeat it. We have given them ample time. We have seen what they can deliver. Have seen what they can't do. Therefore, we are telling them that they need to retire. If they can't retire, let them lie. We shall just reject them because we can't keep on supporting people who support issues to do with the tribalism, issues to do with the just assembling your people and then you auction them to another leader. I
will allow Nathaniel to respond to that, but just how? But just who is going to carry the flag for Mulembe Nation if we say that these key ones are not good enough?
Let me finish it, Linda.
Yes.
I think these people are. Let me just say the truth, because I know the reason why they are having a lot of anxiety in themselves. It is because the rumors have heard that the former cabinet secretary, Dr. Muhisa Kitui, is contesting for presidency. And Muhisa has got the agenda of the country. And these people are running up and down trying to prove a point that they can control Mulembe Nation to an extent of controlling everything, so that it will lock out those who are aspiring to lead the country. I think we are telling them that Muhisa Kitui have confirmed the rumors. It's true that Muhisa Kitui will contest for 2022, and therefore they should prepare to face him. If they are not going to retire.
All right.
We will force them to retire.
Okay, so Muhisa Kitui would be a sure bet for the Mulembe Nation. Do you suppose so, now that you're an ANC
Not
member,
from Mulembe
a
Nation.
youth leader there?
He's a sure bet for Kenya.
Okay, Nathaniel, what do you
Muhisa Kitui is
say?
not aspiring to become a Luhya kingpin.
Let's listen in to what Nathaniel has to say in regards to same as we cross over to a different subject altogether. Now that we are talking about his boss, yeah.
It is laughable. It is laughable for Callistus to advance such kind of an ideology. First of all, Musalia Mudavadi, the former vice president of this country, is not running to be a Luhya kingpin. He has stated so publicly that he is not seeking a position called Luhya kingpin because that position does not exist in the constitution.
Why is he rotating in Luhya land? What is he rotating in Luhya land to do it? Because we have seen him in Luhya. Yes.
I am coming to that shortly. What His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi, he is seeking to be the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. And he has tried this before. The kind of people Callistus is talking about, like Muhisa Kitui, has never run for president. He does not know how to run for president. Musalia Mudavadi has run in 2013. He garnered quite a substantial number of votes. And in 2017, you will notice, Linda, His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi is the one who formed NASA.
Okay.
And as the vision bearer of NASA, he went ahead to step down. For lack of a better word, a man I can describe as not selfish. He allowed his bigger brothers, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, to carry the flag of NASA, despite the fact that he is the one who formed the NASA. And as the vision bearer, you realize that there are people who betrayed the cause. The millions of Kenyans who had cast their daily struggles and hopes on the NASA dream, what we call the Road to Canaan manifesto. Those people who betrayed the cause for fear of, for lack of a better word, for fearing to cross River Jordan because of crocodiles, they are the betrayers. They went ahead. We know it's something that I cannot talk about at length.
Yeah.
Every Kenyan knows the kind of betrayal that our people experienced. We were hoping to get where we wanted to see, a land of electoral justice and many other things, economic opportunities, quality education, and all those things. Now,
if you say our people, whom are you referring to?
I'm referring to the vision bearer.
Because I have never been betrayed. Me personally, I have never been betrayed as a lawyer. Because
we can ask Linda to run an opinion poll on TV47 and ask the people about that. But now, Linda, if you give me a little bit, 1 minute, I want to respond to what Callistus raised.
I think we need to ask the people to call. You can call, and of course, the numbers are rolling down on your screen. Tell us. We start conducting the poll as early as now. Let's get to hear from you and see whether, again, you are in agreement with what Callistus is saying or in agreement with what Nathaniel is saying. Yes, Nathaniel, as we wind up on this subject.
Yes. And you can even ask the people directly and tell them, did they feel betrayed by the decision of abandoning the quest to Canaan and so as to implement the Road to Canaan manifesto? Just ask them that, because somebody ran ahead of time and went to the steps of Harambee House in the name of getting milk and honey.
But wait a minute. In this Canaan deal, Nathaniel, in this Canaan deal, and I cross over to the next subject, do you suppose it's only Musalia and the likes of Moses Wetangula that are missing out on the goodies that have come along with this Canaan deal? Kalonzo officially is a senior counsel. Kalonzo is part and parcel of Jubilee. And Baba equally is more or less like Jubilee right now, or more or less like President Uhuru Kenyatta, probably enjoying the milk and honey in Canaan land. Is it only the two leaders of Mulembe Nation that are missing out on this deal?
First of all, Linda, I want to tell you categorically that Senator Moses Wetangula is in the Senate. He is executing the issues as a senator of Bungoma Wetangula. The only person who has stood firm when Jubilee was invading political parties is Excellency Musalia Mudavadi. He categorically stated that our party is not folding up to join Jubilee Party in a spirited campaign. Let me call it a scramble. Political parties were scrambling to sign cooperation agreements with Jubilee so that they could get goodies. It is only ANC and Musalia Mudavadi who has stated that we are not joining Jubilee because the people of Kenya never elected us to join government. We lost the elections unfairly because they were rigged, And we say that we will remain in the opposition as a party, and we will seek a fresh mandate in 2022.
But just how active an opposition is Musalia Mudavadi or is ANC? How active of an opposition? I mean, the argument on ground, if you'd ask anyone today, they tell you that there is a feel that maybe ANC, we don't have an opposition. Let's pick this phone call. Let's pick this phone call and then come back to you, gentlemen. Hello?
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 Good morning.
Hello? Good morning.
We're not able to hear the caller. Hola, yes, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, Jambo.
Jambo sana.
Tunazungumza na nani?
Naongea na Ubege.
Ubege, una maoni gani kuhusu mjadala ambao tunaendelea nao sasa hivi?
Ningependa kuambia Kalista.
Ndio.
Kwamba siasa inapiga hapa ya village politics. Na kwamba sisi watu wa Mlembe tumeamua tunamsupport Mudavadi na Wetangula. Na kwamba mambo ya Mokisa Kitui ni ajui. Na you should understand that if we as the Luya nation, we have decided we are going to follow this route. Tumedanganywa miaka mingi. Raila ametuuza mara mingi, sasa anatupeleka Canaan, ametupeleka Jubilee. Right now, we are looking for like-minded people who are going to help us ensure that Musalia Mudavadi is the CEO of this country. Number two,
yes,
we are not going to join the government to help ourselves. We want to have our CEO as the Luya CEO who is going to help the country. And the best bet here is Musalia Mudavadi. He is a mtu ambaye anapendwa country nzima, and he has the best economical skills to help this country.
All right.
This country is actually bleeding from corruption, it's bleeding from poor leadership, and the only Kenyan who can help us here and help this country is Musalia Mudavadi.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Odegi, for calling in. Remember, you can keep interacting with us. And Wafula Kalista umesikia amesema wao Mlembe Nation wanataka Mudavadi, nothing short of that. And I was asking this question: how strong of an opposition is Musalia Mudavadi today, is Moses Wetangula today, to make changes for the people of Kenya?
What I can tell you, Linda, the caller, I think, is just a follower from Musalia Mudavadi. He has his democratic right to defend the party leader, but now I want to tell him that what they are talking about Musalia Mudavadi being strong. Strong in what? Because we have had Musalia. Musalia has been a cabinet secretary. We saw what happened in Mavoko Cemetery, then Anglolism. He has been also part of the people who have looted this country resources. Therefore, my fellow panelists say that Dr. Muhisa Kitui has never contested for president. I think he could know the position Muhisa Kitui is holding. Muhisa Kitui is an international leader. He's the person that is representing our country, our country's image at international level. Therefore, you cannot compare Muhisa Kitui with the village politician, the likes of Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi. These are people who are aspiring to become Luya kingpins.
It's a clear indication that the panel that I have paints a picture of how much there is not so much unity within the Mulembe Nation, the elusive Mulembe Nation. So I think we need to leave it at that, gentlemen, right? On the Mulembe Nation, as we await to see what will happen.
Could you give me a minute, Linda, to make a response? A minute?
Oh, yes, yes.
First of all, Linda, you will notice that I am not a Luya, I'm a Kisi. And I'm
hold it right there, Nathaniel. Let's pick this phone call from Bungoma, because then it looks like now today we are discussing the Mulembe Nation. A phone call from Bungoma. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I really like the comments that are going on there.
Thank you.
Number one, I just want to say this. People in Western region hate themselves. They are the ones who try to kill each one's vision.
Yeah.
And the relationship between Wetangula and Musalia is not a honest relationship. It's a relationship just by itself, which is just a lie. But I like the way Mugisa Kitui is coming into the picture. And I think, according to me, if you give me the three leaders, I would go for Mugisa Kitui.
Right.
Because Mugisa Kitui is the best picture. But the biggest problem I have is that Western region is not yet ready for a president from Western region. As per now, the politics at the national level are affecting the loyalty of the people on the ground. But the best bet is Mugisa Kitui.
All right, the best bet, Mugisa Kitui. I don't know why we are overlooking the likes of Oparanya, who equally have presented their interest or have echoed out their interest in public domain. But thank you so much for calling in. And we go back to you, Nathaniel. Yes, you had some reservations, and you've heard what the caller has just said.
Yes. First of all, Linda, I'm a Kisi from Nyamira, to be specific, North Mugirango. And I believe in Musalia Mudavadi, and I chose him out of all the leaders because of the vision he has. Let me just run something, just two things quickly. Number one is that Musalia Mudavadi is the best finance minister Kenya has ever had. If you go to history between 1993 and 1997, he is the one who instituted radical fiscal reforms just immediately after the 1992 general elections that plunged the country into inflation. You remember when money was being printed and dished around the 500 shillings note?
Yes.
The country went into an inflation. When Musalia Mudavadi came in as a finance minister, the first thing he did was to institute those fiscal reforms. And among the many things he did, he is the one who sponsored the Kenya Revenue Authority Act in Parliament to remove KRA from being a tax income department in the Ministry of Finance to be an independent authority called KRA Authority. That is some of the things he did, and the KRA Authority was able to collect more revenue because it was more freer, it was an authority, and the country turned from a negative to a positive in terms of revenue collection, among many other things, like coming up with the CBK Act to make it autonomous. Now, the things that I am hearing from the lawyers who have spoken before me is that I'm feeling disappointed that I can come from all the way from Kisii and support one of your own who I've seen he has the credentials.
But as the caller would say, it looks like we, I mean, the Luya themselves or one of our own is probably not ready for this. Now that I just decided to lay
if you argue on that basis of one of your own, where do you think the other Kenyans will support you?
All right, let's pick this last call. Let's pick this last call and wind up on this issue of Bulembe Nation from Kakamega. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, I'm good. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Now that you're from Kakamega, is Oparanya the best deal?
No.
All right, proceed.
My contribution is us Luya and in Kakamega, we are firmly behind Musalia Mudavadi.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to talk to the Luya nation, he has to talk to Mudavadi and Wetangula. These other people that are being brought in from outside, we will reject them. Musalia Mudavadi is a leader, and we know that there's a scheme to try and bring in some other people to cause disunity in Luya. Luyas are always united behind Musalia Mudavadi. When he was the Minister for Finance, remember he's the one who opened the waves, the airwaves. Safaricom came after when he was the Minister for Finance. The radio station that we have right now, the TV station, is the Musalia Mudavadi as the Minister of Finance who opened up the space. Some of these credits are not being given. They're not being aired. They're not being mentioned because there's a scheme or a skew to tarnish his name. And we know that the Murembe nation will always be and solely behind Musalia Mudavadi, despite whatever is being said and done. So we are just waiting. The COVID thing has kind of slowed down a lot of activities. The gentleman from who's flaunting Mugisa Kitui has to know that for you to go outside and garner other votes from outside, you have to start from home.
Yeah.
So Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula are trying to solidify their base.
Do they have much time to do that? Do they have much time to do that when they're focused so much at home or in a Mulembe nation, and there's barely time till 2022 to speak to the rest of the world?
Okay, if you are following the events, recently Musalia came and told us that the Mulembe nation that we should allow him to go outside, and we gave him the mandate to go outside. We told them that the base is solidly behind him. We know there are other forces. Can you ask yourself, the question is, why now? Why now? Why are they doing it now? Why are they why is so much interest in Mulembe nation? Why not any other region? Why not Kamba nation? Why not the Masai nation? Why Mulembe nation? They tried. Why are they trying to kill parties in Mulembe nation? Why are they trying?
It's a vote-rich region. Vote-rich region, yes.
Exactly. Now we are woken up. We know we are that vote-rich. And we know that one of our own can easily be the president. And the person who stands a better chance right now is Musalia Mudavadi. And I can assure you, we are solely behind.
All right. Well, of course, thank you so much for that. And gentlemen, I'm afraid we're not going to go back to that because it looks like there's so much about the Mulembe politics that needs to be spoken about. But I think we'll leave it at that and we say the best man win. Let's wait and see how, of course, the next person who will come in will ensure that there's unity felt at the Mulembe nation.
The views you sampled, most of the people, the mood on the ground is that it is time for Musalia Mudavadi.
But now, how there's some of them who are mentioning Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. Then the question is, will Moses Wetangula be the person to stay behind for Musalia Mudavadi?
Let me remind you that in 2017, let's go to history.
Briefly.
In 2017, the two leaders, Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula, were solidly behind Raila Amolo Odinga.
Yes.
And it is because of their support that Raila garnered 80% of the Luhya votes.
Yes.
So let us not forget that in 2017, that was a fact. It is because of these two leaders. How much votes could Eugene garner for Jubilee in 2017, for example? That is a question to ask because our arguments must be fact-backed with facts. So I want to agree generally with the callers who are making in their views that Musalia Mudavadi stands the best chance. And from Kisii, we are going to mobilize also very many Kisiis to support his cause.
All
we
right.
believe he's somebody who can fix the economy.
Okay, well, that aside.
That's not just about Musalia and
that aside, briefly, in 30 seconds, please.
Else.
Or you're done with that?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Done with that?
I think Alistas has surrendered.
All right, now let's drop this, gentlemen. Let's drop this. Let's drop the Mulembe nation.
We can't discuss people.
Yes.
We can't discuss people who are proven not progressive. They are not progressive in leadership.
Okay, well,
therefore, the person who is telling us about Musalia, everybody knows Musalia. Me, I know Musalia. All Kenyans know Musalia. There's actually nothing you can explain for us. I think let us give it time. The time will tell you who is who. I'm sure Dr. Muhisa Kitui will emerge as a winner.
We'll carry the day. Let's say the elusive Mulembe unity, the elusive Mulembe togetherness is something that, they still are in search for, and a lack of democracy at that level also. Or maybe so much democracy has been an undoing to the Mulembe nation. Away from that, and then President Uhuru Kenyatta finally conferred 24 senior councils on board, of course, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, Otiende Amolo, Philip Murgo, and many others. But the question on board is that, of course, LSK is here disputing this and arguing that, President Uhuru Kenyatta went against what is stipulated, of course, in terms of the legal activities in the country. And one would want to ask, is it a political presidential giveaway in this case? Or does it have any merit at all to see to it that these senior councils have been conferred?
I think the appointment is politically motivated.
Oh yeah? Why do you say so?
I have seen the name of Kalonzo Musyoka. This is an idol. Kalonzo Musyoka has not been seen anywhere practicing law. Therefore, they are trying to sanitize the people who are supporting them. The handshake under the BBI. You can see Kio Kilokumi, I have no issue. Martha Karua, the same, I have no issue. But quite a number of appointments that he has made is just politically motivated. Kalonzo has there's nothing you can associate with Kalonzo when it comes to law practice. He is not a practitioner, and therefore that one alone tells you that the appointment was not genuine.
All right,
yes.
In a tweet by the Law of Society of Kenya, of course, they say President Uhuru Kenyatta acted with impunity in conferring a rank of senior counsel on the 24 advocates. The dispute of their recommendation for conferment is still pending in court. We still abide by the outcome of the mediation that ensued therefrom, whose report expected soon, or is expected soon. Nathaniel, disappointments, and I think that's the reason why I asked, do you suppose the likes of Kalonzo are now enjoying the fruits and the milk and honey in Canaan?
Those are some of the goodies that are being dished out in the name of appeasing people who have signed cooperation agreement with Jubilee Party. And first of all, I would not wish to go political in this matter. I believe some of these people are competent counsels. The broad perspective of being a senior counsel does not necessarily mean you must practice in the courts. The senior counsel is broader in a manner that you are a person of high legal standing. Your credentials when it comes to matters law have expanded through the times, and Kalonzo Musyoka is a senior counsel, rightfully so, because I believe he has done quite a lot in a number of things in law. He has been a deputy speaker in Parliament. Let me mention, he has been a deputy speaker in Parliament.
Okay.
He has
Those
been
are
the leader of
political issues.
No,
They've got nothing to do with the legal.
Yes, it has nothing to do with the legal.
No, I think Calista, broaden your mind in this sense. Senior counsel does not mean necessarily practicing in the law, in the courts.
But there are also
Senior
stipulations
counsel,
that are supposed to be there to be.
Now,
acquire skill.
The only thing that I don't support is the fact that the president can bypass the Law Society of Kenya in having their opinion in this matter. Because the Law Society of Kenya has an act. It is regulated through an act of parliament. And that act of parliament has a procedure that must be followed, and that there should be a guideline in a way that the LSK appoints these persons of competencies to the position of senior counsel. It is not a position that is acquired easily. It is a position that has to be accumulated through experience and so many other considerations. So the president should not act ultra vires in going against what the LSK should basically ought to do.
All right, and on that very note, I think because of, in the interest of time, we've delved much on the Mulembe Nation thing. I think it's important that we proceed to the next subject, even as we await to see what will play out in regards to this. As you have said, that it's a case that is still being deliberated on, and we get to hear what a turn it will take. We'll be here to update you some more on the same. And we still are grappling with the mystery of COVID-19 in the country. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has convened the Intergovernmental Coordination Summit set for Friday, this Friday, that is the 24th, following the surge of COVID-19 infections across the country. Remember very well that the burden was squarely placed on the shoulders of the counties to see to it that we are able to deal with COVID-19 as a country. So, as they await for this meeting, have we done well? What is it that we have not done well? What is it that would be your advice to the government in terms of what we can do, change, and pick up to see to it that we are able to deal with COVID-19, at least fairly in comparison with the rest of the world?
I think, Linda, I'm not an expert on the issues of pandemic, but I do remember immediately when the COVID reached our country, there is one person by the name Dr. Mukasha appeared on NTV interview, and he spoke exclusively on how we are supposed to, the measures that the government should put in place to contain the disease. What I can say, at the time we cannot fight this disease. Because now it is with us. I think the government should put plans or measures in place to know how we are going to do with this disease, because we are not going to do away with it. Because looking at the president should embrace research. Research means we have got many people in our country who are knowledgeable enough, people who are born with wisdom, when they do research, they will be able to know the way forward. But discussing these issues with the politician is a waste of time. Politicians are busy planning on how they can loot our money. These governors are just corrupt. And therefore, we are telling the president that he should stop.
All right. I think we're losing Callistus right there. But what do you make of course, the surge, the numbers that we're talking about? Yeah.
Therefore, we are saying the government should know how we are going to live with the disease. This disease is not going soon. And therefore, we have to have plans on how to reopen school. For example, the school should be reopened and direct students to go to school in their locality. They're not supposed to have national schools because now we have a serious disease. We can't manage transferring students from one county to another. Let these students go to school in their locality. And even if we say that we are not, they are not going to school, even at a meeting, we are going out there. We are just going to bring the disease in our home. Therefore, I think the measures should be put in place on how to reopen school, and the health sector should also consider, because I'm suspecting even the test kits, they might be having a problem. Because there are some people who have said that they tested positive, then all of a sudden when they go back, they are negative. Therefore, even the reports that they are giving us, it is not a report that we can say we can trust it, because even the kits that they are using to test are not perfect. Therefore, the government should just put in measures in place, let them subsidize food, and the fruits, let people take more fruit so that to raise their immune, so that we are able to combat this disease. Because hii ni homa ya kawaida.
Oh well, kama ni homa ya kawaida, wacha tusikie what yes.
Also, they are saying that they don't want to see clubs open. But they have allowed restaurants to operate. I think even the club is more safer because people are sanitizing. We are told that the alcoholic drink can be able to kill the virus. Some people believe so, and those people have said so that they just doctors' expertise. Therefore, what I can say is that the government should allow people to operate business. Let us not close down everything. Let us learn how to, because now they have told us that the number is now in millions. In 2 days,
all right,
millions of people will have COVID-19.
And in this case then, Nathaniel, do you suppose that we need the go-ahead of the government to operate, or we have already started operating? That's the reason why we are complaining of how much we are flouting the rules. We are going against that. I mean, that is the latest that we heard from the Ministry of Health, that Kenyans are treating this with too much laxity.
First of all, Linda, I want to disagree with my fellow panelists, that alcohol or indulging alcohol, it is not a throat sanitizer. When people are in the state of being drunk, they don't take care, because you are drunk and you lose your consciousness. You keep touching the surface, and then you touch your hands on the face. It is easy to contract the virus when you are in the state of unconsciousness. Now, this is the kind of message that we want to dissuade our people from. COVID-19 si homa ya kawaida. We have seen prominent people dying because of COVID-19. So we cannot tell our people that COVID-19 ni homa ya kawaida. We must tell our people to always be cautious and take preventive measures. And that is part of the things why our health system is weak. Our public health system has been weakened because we are more of curative than preventive. So the message that should be going out to the masses of our people is that COVID-19 is serious. They must take measures to preserve their lives. And then we must now turn to the government and tell them what is the recovery plan of the government post-COVID-19. Because when you talk about looking at the economic, the economy, both in the short term and in the long term, you will realize that many people are suffering. household incomes are shrinking, and more people are, they're relapsing into unemployment. This is a situation that we must ask the government when you are meeting the intergovernmental summit between the governors and the national government. What recovery plan does these 248 governments have? Do we have a plan on how we can reboot the economy to the benefit of the majority of the people? And then if that is the plan, what are the details of that plan? Because that is what the summit should be talking about. In essence, what is the long-term plan on issues of streamlining the revenue stream so that our people can go back to employment? The other day I was listening to the presentation by the Minister of Tourism. The catering levy they collect every month, which amounts to almost 300 million, has drastically gone down to almost 15 million per month. That means that if the tourism fund is collecting less than what they used to collect monthly, it means that most people who are working within the hotelier sector have been fired or they are not in job. Those are the things that we want to hear. What is the plan of these 48 governments going to be like in terms of recovery? Do we want to hear the president talking about the issues of public debt? Does the president have a plan of reaching out to our lenders and telling them, we have this pandemic, the economy is not doing so well, we need you to cancel our debt or put a moratorium on repayment? These are the kind of issues that we want to hear in the recovery plan. And finally, we want to hear this summit pronouncing itself on how they are going to fix the public health system. Remember, Linda, health is 90% devolved. The national government is only in charge of the referral hospitals. But most of the health from level 5 downwards, all those sections are devolved. Therefore, we want to know, in the short term and in the long term, what are the recovery plans in terms of rebooting the public health system?
And speaking of which, let me ask this question. There was an argument here at some point in time that in as much as health is a devolved function, maybe dealing with COVID-19 should not have been a burden that is left for county governments, but it should have been a collective burden for the national government. But as it stands, it looks like now the national government is slowly pushing the trouble of course, the aspect of health and how much burden we are for the counties or to the counties.
Our people do not really mind who should be implementing these things. Our people all they want is a good public health system. And I want to agree, a pandemic of this magnitude cannot be left to county governments alone because they don't have the wherewithal. They are just depending on grants and monies disbursed from the national government. Therefore, it is the national government to hold these consultative meetings the president is having with the governors. And they must put in robust plans. They must start saying that we had a project called MES, the ones they bought equipments. And right now we have a shortage of these ICU facilities. What are we going to do to increase the capacity of the hospitals in handling large cases of patients of COVID-19? That is the plan, because from the projections that the Ministry of Health is putting out in the public in their daily addresses, is that the numbers are going to increase drastically in the coming months. And we cannot take these things, business as usual. So this summit must pronounce itself on these things clearly, from the public health system to the economy and to the lives, including education, that the one Kalisa has mentioned. We must have these pronouncements from the summit. There must be direction in the country.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And because of the interest of time, let me just pick one subject right here, because now there's been so much interest on the Mulembe Nation politics. And there's a viewer who says the Luhya region politics and the rifts catalyzed by a Atuoli team against Mudavadi and Weta. This Oparanya and Wangamati and Wamalwa team wanted to gain Luhya trust so that they can auction Luhya to the national government. At this point, Mukisa cannot be brought to the picture. He is not experienced politically and is a Atuoli project. The kingpins remain Mudavadi and Wetangula. The rest are just brokers. And Mzee Churchill says unless they upload a CCTV footage showing exactly what happened. For now, we believe that Papa's wife we believe what Papa's wife said. This is also feedback in regards to the stories that we had picked earlier on. And Prince Zach says he's tuned in from Kajiado, Loitoktok. The likes of Joseph Nguya watching from Dubai, and many, many more sending in their feedback. So much comments coming on board. Gentlemen, on that very note, I think we need to lock down this program, because if I allow you to give your last, your parting shots for that matter, I'm sure we're going to overrun.
Just give
30 seconds. Is that okay?
Just give
30 seconds, please.
You mentioned an issue today, the Waluke.
Yes.
And I want just to comment and give my fair comment that we want the government to take all this in check. Because Waluke is not alone. Even the issues of maize, there are so many people that were involved. So we are telling the government that all the 47 governors belong to PJ. At least they have stolen anything from us. Then all these MPs running CKF, there's no accountability. We are telling the government to protect our resources. Let the president step in and ensure that all these are taken to jail. Those who are planning to pray for Waluke, they are not genuine people. They are also supposed to, we have seen the likes of Papo Wino, the likes of Wapato, the likes of the former Nairobi governor, Evans Kitero. There are so many cases that are overstayed in our court of law. We want to tell the government to ensure that there is fairness. What we are asking is fairness. I'm not defending Waluke, but let hundreds and thousands of people follow Waluke in a chain. That's what I can say.
All right, thank you so much. 30 seconds, Nathaniel, or we are okay?
And I just want to say that as somebody who comes from a political party, I want to tell Kenyans that in the coming days and months, when the country gradually reopens, you are going to see politics that you have never seen before. We are going to put out our manifesto of reclaiming the economy from the ANC party, and this manifesto will capture the aspirations of Kenyans. We will continue with the struggle that was aborted at River Jordan because of betrayal, and we will fix the economy in what we call Uchumi Bora na Musalia. Thank you so much, Linda, for having me.
All right, thank you so much, Natalia Akadima, ANC Youth Leader, and Wafula Kalistas, the Chair, J Network Lobby Group. Yes, the J Networks Lobby Group. Thank you so much for the great insights this morning. Looking forward to have another session with you. Hata nyinyi mnakuja na siasa? Kampeni inaanza. Hata kama mnasema wanasiasa wasipige siasa.
Yamuhiza kitu not be paid on the basis of the nation.
All right, let's wait and see. And on that very note, we wind up on the current affairs segment. We see you again in a minute or so as we discuss a different subject altogether, the mental health amongst the police officers after this break. And welcome back to Morning Cafe, the last laps of the show that we call it the last segment, where we get to discuss some issues to do with lifestyle and also, most importantly, social activities right here. And today we want to base our focus on understanding how best the police forces perform in terms, of course, of how they deal with issues and all that. And today we are all about the mental health amongst the police officers. For the longest of time, fingers have been pointed at them on how they handle issues, on the temporal ways of how they handle issues, and the levels of police brutality that are on the rise by the day. But have we ever sat down for a moment to think about them, just to get to know how are they faring on? What is it that is being done towards addressing the issues that they could be going through? Because before they're policemen, they are human beings. And joining me to expound some more on this particular subject is Boniface Betty, who is our Senior Programs Manager at Greenstring Network that deals with police issues and tortures across, of course, different sectors. And Gitahi Kanyeki, who's the Deputy Director, Internal Affairs Unit. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You well?
Very well.
Thank you so much for gracing the show this morning. Yes, and of course a different subject altogether, because for the longest of time people have not focused much on how well the police officers are mentally, and of course how stable they are to of course proceed and of course proceed and expedite, or even better said, and ensure that they proceed with their issues or their work or what is mandated upon them well, because then for the longest of time they've been considered to be enemies of the people. And every other time you see a police, you always think of trouble and danger, as opposed to what is supposed to be. You're supposed to think of service. You're supposed to think of a situation where you are protected. So this morning, first of all, I'll come with this question and direct it to you, Betty. Is there any statistics on the mental illness amongst police officers today? Any data?
Thank you very much for asking this question. I think there is data, it's research that was done by that is one thing. Also provided by the National Police Service, but also by the National Police Service Commission, that propose strongly that there should be mechanisms and institutions to support police officers' mental health. As Greenstring Network, we are an organization that is working in partnership with the National Police Service, and our colleagues like Gitahi Kanyeki here, I know they really know internally as an institution what the National Police Service has put in place in terms of mental health investigation and structure, which I think is already like something that has been being worked on for a couple of years, and is in the process of being implemented.
All right, and coming to you, Director Gitahi, the most common illness or mental illness diagnosed amongst the police today is one that is, of course, considered to be post-traumatic stress disorder. Then we'd want to know, is there pressure, or is pressure from work one of the contributing factors to this particular situation, or to these recordings that we have? We're not able to hear you well. Let's go back to... Can you hear me? All right, let's go back to you, Boniface. I'm just highlighting what, of course, is considered to be the most cases of mental illness amongst the police. That is post-traumatic stress disorder, caused by depression, anxiety, considered to be the commonest. And then the question is pressure from work a contributing factor to these mental illnesses?
Thank you, Linda. Sorry, I'm back yet again.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you hearing me? Thank you. You're hearing me, Linda?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Oh, thank you. Let me start by appreciating what you just introduced, that a police officer, first and foremost, is just like any other Kenyan, is a citizen of this country, even before becoming a police officer. So one thing that we should know is that we are human beings.
Through my own experience, I can tell you, Linda, post-traumatic stress disorder is alive in our police officers. And not only police officers, even the people in the line of law enforcement and security officers. So most of the post-traumatic stress disorders come out of what we undergo through in our day-to-day duties. And mostly the affected ones are the ones who find themselves in the compact areas like maybe the northeast and upper Kenya, maybe cattle rustling areas, and nowadays the issue of the terrorism. And there's a need of actually looking at the police officers pre and post those activities. And I want to thank the Green String, which has come up with the program Wamkompia, which actually is trying to undertake that element of taking care of the police officers. I want to agree that, yes, post-traumatic stress disorder comes from the issues of the work.
All right, and of course, this is probably the picture that is out here. You find that most law enforcers are men, and men are known not to seek psychological, of course, attention or help in the event that they need. I mean, how is it possible, and how do we change this narrative? Coming to you, Bona Director. We're not able to get a hold of him just yet. Gitahi?
Hearing you, but
you can hear me?
Yeah, so Linda.
Yes.
The thing is, as Kanyeki has pointed out, police officers, just like me and you, who are citizens, who are non-police officers, you know, are human beings. With the issues of mental health or trauma, the key question is not always what is wrong with you or why are you doing what you're doing. The question is always what happened to you. And this question is what has inspired our work to work in partnership with the police service. And as you pointed out, that men, culturally, of course, there is this belief that men are very hard, they are very strong than women, which is not based on any statistical data. It's just something that people believe because we are a patriarchal society. So people believe because men are leaders, men are strong, therefore they cannot be able to face adverse challenges that touch on issues of mental health. But this is it's a fallacy because mental health issues are issues that affect all human beings regardless of their gender.
All right, in this case, then there are lots of connotations, I would say, or negative connotations that are attributed to this. For instance, when you speak out, you probably appear to be weak. You know, it is a bit embarrassing. So you find that it's hard that amongst law enforcers, I mean, it's very hard for them to come out and speak out their mind, come out and say that they're not okay. So in this case, again, where do we shift this from this point of narrative? And I was actually speaking to one of them yesterday who said that, again, when you're undergoing these processes, you are trained and tuned. You know, the way as a child you're told, or maybe, you know, young boys are normally told that men do not cry. So once you're getting yourself into the, you know, force, you're told that there is no way you can appear as weak. There is no way you can appear as though you fear. So you have to act strong. So in this case, you find that when they are going through these challenges, they rarely speak. So how do we run away from that? Any special programs to address such occurrences? Gitahi, maybe?
Yes, thank you, Linda. I want to agree with you that there's a problem of us actually as police officers coming out and maybe saying that we have problems. But remember, as human beings, at some point we are really human beings. We put away the policemanship in ourselves and we come in as now normal human beings. I can tell you from my own experience, I've had time to cry. I have had time to have sorrow. I have had time to grieve, maybe because of a loss of a friend, a family member, and that. But what we are doing now, we are trying to tell them now, it's our time to realize that however much we are trained, at some point we have to make sure that we are human beings. And we have to come out and even talk among ourselves, not necessarily outside, but even among ourselves. Hence now we have programs that, like this one from Boniface organization, which are coming up to us and actually equipping us with how do we come out and talk about it, and talk about what is happening to us. And this is the only way out. Studies have shown that even in other countries, the Western countries, that is the way they are going. That's why we have like a Department of Veterans in US, where they're taking care of those people who went out in wars very many years, and maybe they are being tormented because of what they acted at that point when they were in war. So I appreciate that something, however much, it's not much, but however little it is, something is happening. We are starting coming out. And also I remember we've started seeing now even the element of the female officers coming out. We have had very many more female suicide, and this one is a sign that something has to be done even for the other gender. It's not only about men, it's about everybody in the uniform.
All right, so in such a scenario, having gone through this, how do you spot one and say that probably this person is not well, is probably going through some tough times, and maybe you can come in to offer assistance, you can come in to tell them that it's okay, you can speak about this, you can address this, you know, not necessarily does this make you look weak?
Yes, I can tell you for sure that I have had an experience of working with such officers, starting with myself, which I remember I was shot in 2011 June, and that experience of mine made me to go and study counseling out of the hospital, because I remember there is this nurse who was a Catholic nun who actually was coming to me, not giving me medicine, but just talking to me. Later I realized that she was a counselor, and that's how actually I started having interest in that. One, you will see such an officer distancing him or herself from the other officers, maybe coming late, maybe not performing well in her duties, and maybe sometimes even a lot of forgetfulness. You may find even he's forgetting about some other things, maybe misplacing his working tools, or even forgetting those basic things about our work. That's when you start as a manager, you start seeing that there is a problem in this police officer. And those small things that are the ones that can grow to bigger things.
All right, and in this case, I'll loop you in, Betty, and we ask this question. Are there ways that you probably have come up with, or maybe you are aware of, on how best you can help, you know, a police officer who's undergoing mental tough times, you know, and they get to recover, or there are times where it can go to a point where there's no repair, I mean, beyond repair?
Well, thank you. So the thing is, we have been working with officers in partnership, people like Kanyeki here and many others from the Office of the IG and the National Police Service Institution together. And our program has this approach where we have created a very holistic approach to dealing with issues of mental health facing the police that look at different aspects of their well-being. Like we look at, for example, through our sessions, we look at, for example, we work with groups of police officers, but look at specifically who am I, like what is my identity and my work, how does it affect me when I go out there to do my work every day, and how does it change how I look at life and my relationship with the citizens. So what happens is that our approach is already working in partnership with institutions, that police internal institutions. Like, for example, Kanyeki is heading one of those, but we also work with the Office of the Head of Counseling within the National Police Service under the Office of the IG. They have mechanisms in place also to provide referral pathways in their own ways to support officers who find themselves on the edge. So there are those kind of mechanisms within National Police Service that support their own. Like Kanyeki has pointed out clearly, he is, for example, a trained counselor, professional counselor, and there is many other models.
All right, there's a bit of a, yeah? All right, yeah?
Yeah. So basically,
Hold it right there. I'm not able to get you so well, but let's loop in Kanyeki and speak of whether, of course, they go through debriefs and, you know, provisions that are important to us, ensuring that they address some of the issues that they're likely to face before they are out for a mission, before they are out to go on duty. Are there moments when, you know, there are conversations that are held revolving around what you expect and what tough times you could face down there and how to handle them? I'm not able to get you so well. Let's take a short break and fix that technical hitch. We'll be right back as we get to wind up on this very important subject. All right, welcome back to Morning Cafe. We're still on the discussion, the last bit of the discussion, as we take a look at mental health amongst the police officers. And of course, to expand some more on this is Boniface Betty, Senior Programs Manager, Green String Network, and Gitahi Kanyeki, who's the Deputy Director, Internal Affairs Unit. Thank you so much, gentlemen, once again. And we go back to that candid discussion as we get to understand. I think this is a question that I had asked earlier on, and this is directed to you, Kanyeki. I mean, are there always debriefs and sessions where the police officers are taken through prior to going on duty or prior to going for a mission that are helpful, that would be good enough for them in the event that they go out there and face some troubles? They would use such lessons that they picked to ensure that they stay put.
That one actually is a normal culture in the military or the law enforcement.
How effective is this? How effective is it?
It may not be effective because maybe of some circumstances that sometimes you find yourself, maybe it's an attack. Maybe, for example, it's an attack in northeastern or the porous areas, whereby now you may not need to have those briefing first if an attack happens. But if it's a plan that has been planned prior or earlier, there is always a first-hand briefing of understanding the mission, looking at the officers involved, the personnel involved. If there is anybody actually not ready for that, maybe by the issue of maybe being ill or not having other problems, looking even at the equipment, and even after the actions, later we have another briefing. By the way, this is what actually we call culturally team up parade. There's that language of team-up, but it's actually team up parade. First, you meet, you look at the job that you're going to handle. Then later, after the job, you come back. And actually, I can tell you, Linda, that briefing always starts with a word of prayer, either from the Muslim fraternity or from the Christian fraternity.
Yeah. All right, and that's a good one. And I would want to ask this question. We all have been privy to what has been happening across different parts of the world, and currently there's been lots of cases of police brutality. How is this connected to mental health or their mental stability? Coming to you, Boniface.
I want to say the thing is, we have to look at mental health in a very holistic way.
Yeah.
Like I said, the question is not what is wrong with you. And that is the response that we hear when people are dealing with the police, But the question is, what has happened to you? Police do very unique kind of work in this society. So this work exposes them to myriad challenges to their mental health. And how they respond to these challenges depends how they are going to cope to do their work for the long term and to achieve the objectives of the policing institutions in the world. What we have seen in the world currently, the bashing that we have seen against the police, is just because people really, of course we understand that police work comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of power. But people should always understand that police also are caught up. The problem is not what is wrong with you. The problem is, how has the world changed? What is happening in the world? Like the current events have happened because COVID-19 has brought to the surface some of the most difficult complexities that society has to deal with. Some of the underlying things that we have seen in the past that have not been on the surface, all of a sudden they are coming to the surface. For example, things like curfews, lockdowns, and then controlling masses of people. This also exposes even police officers to infections. For example, we have seen a number of police officers being infected by COVID-19. So the thing is, the question should be, how has policing work changed because of the situations that we are witnessing in the world, especially the social complexities that are now happening because of things like COVID-19 and changes in the social dynamics of society?
A change has been experienced across. Would you say that the rest of the people are, negative, have a negative mentality over the policemen? Because then, if we're talking about the changes that have happened, one would argue they have happened across. Are we expecting the policemen to be superhumans in this case?
Exactly. That's a good question. Police officers cannot...
All right, not able to get you very well, but then again, of course, I'll direct the same question to Kanyeki, and would love to hear his take on how the police have been interacting with the common people, the common Mwananchi, who are highly dependent on support from them. But it looks like it's been, a negative affair, and there's been so much bad blood between the police and the civilian and the common Mwananchi.
Thank you, Linda. I want to appreciate that. Still, I will come back and say that, remember, a police officer is a human being. This police officer that you are meeting on the road has just come from a house as a father, as a husband, as a brother to somebody. And recently, maybe to some parts, not only the way it's being taken that there is a bad blood, because I know for me, I believe that there is no that bad blood. But I think those small or very, very minute incidences are the ones that have actually been exploded to bring the issue of having bad blood. But let me say this. COVID-19 has brought a challenge not only to the police officers. We may now not do the same things that we were doing. A very simple example. Our police officers are used maybe to picking a driving license from a driver. You can imagine doing that. That one is an element that actually can bring about the infection of the COVID-19. We may not be doing even the normal searches. We need maybe gloves. Look at the distances. So we have to do things abnormally, the way the CS Kagwe says. So this challenge has brought about that the police does not maybe have an opportunity to understand, what am I doing? I'm doing the right thing. But yet, somebody else thinks that I'm not doing the right thing. The Kenyans think that maybe the police, those Kenyans, not all of them, actually a few of them, that the police are not doing the right thing. But when now we've been given an opportunity to police the curfew, for example, you are not supposed to be out by 9:30 or 9:01, 9:05. You expect a police officer not to ask you a question just because you are not following the rule. And I think this one should go to the society. Let us follow the laws that we have put in the land. And I'm afraid if we don't do that, both of us are vulnerable for this COVID-19. The police and the citizens. Because at some point, we'll have to engage even closer than the distance that we have been given by the Minister of Health. And this one brings about even the infection. We have started seeing even our police officers now testing positive. We have seen a few cases coming up. We don't want to see another bigger, or what we have seen in other countries, like I remember in a country that we were reading around 200 police officers have died out of COVID. We expect that we actually follow the laws given by the government and mostly the Ministry of Health, so that we actually let the police just be a very good ambassador of enforcing the law. And I would urge my colleague officers, let's be humane, let's try to be humane, and also urge the Kenyans, let's also be civil. We have that civility in us. Let's not be all that time, every time you see a police officer, you think that we are just coming to clobber you. No. I think we are human beings. And remember, in the evening, we are going back to our wives, we are going back to our children.
And speaking of which, then I would want to ask, if it goes untreated, or if there is delayed treatment of, a mental condition or mental issue amongst any officer, what repercussions would come aboard in regards to the same, or what risk does it pose to family and maybe the society, now that you mentioned family?
Let me say that, there are situations that where we have such police officers, our colleagues, who have actually been affected mentally, but we have measures that we take. Actually, even we document them in our, what we call our nominal roles. They are actually known, and they are not supposed even actually to be given certain working tools. For example, they're not going to handle the firearm. They are not going maybe to be put into a place maybe where they can be exposed to a lot of people. We take care of them, and even mostly we actually take them for medical care. We take them to the hospitals. I know of 2 or 3, 4 who are actually under the medical care in some of the institutions. So we are taking care of them by understanding, do we have Officer X or Y who actually has a mental health, and what am I supposed to do as his supervisor or her supervisor?
All right, speaking of which, then we'd want to ask, coming to you, Boniface, how much is or how much more is being done towards ensuring that the police are in the best of shape, looking at the complaints that have been coming aboard from the forces, in terms of low livelihoods, in terms of tough times, with family and all that. And we've even seen some of them, shoot family members and shoot themselves, shoot colleagues and all that.
Yeah. What I can say is, like you pointed out, so these issues that you mentioned, issues of work-related stress, toxic stress, just like it affects every other person, it really puts police officers at risk, because once they get, they don't know how to respond, and once they get, it gets into especially trauma. Then it means that their functionability is going to be affected. So what we can say is the mental well-being of police officers is very, very important. And what should happen is that besides the police institution taking care of their own, as Kanyeki is pointing out, members of the public also need to support police in their work. Some of the stories you hear from police officers is that sometimes they feel let down by members of the community.
Hold it right there. We're not able to get you well. And speaking of support, coming to Kanyeki, family support is probably key. It's very, very important. So how much, of course, can family come in to ensure that they support their loved ones who are suffering from such occurrences, mental illness, knowing very well that they're out there, giving their best just so they would ensure that the families are taken care of. I mean, the families are in the best of shape.
I didn't get that one, please.
No, my question is this. We're talking about support from society, support from the people out here. What of family? How much can they go towards ensuring that there's proper support for their own loved ones who are going through tough times, and also mental illness for that matter?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because remember, as you started, we started this discussion, we realized that a police officer is a human being. A police officer is a husband or a wife, a mother, maybe a child of somebody. And I want to appreciate that our families are very important in our life as police officers. When we come out, I know there's actually, for example, an organization that has started in National Police Service, the Association of Police Wives, who actually, when you follow their discussions, they just talk about how do we support our husbands when they go out there. We know the challenges that they are having. How do we support our husbands when even they come in and when even at that point they go out of the house? The children also are very important. How do we support our dad, our mom, who is a police officer, going out there and even maybe having an incident of having been blasted by everybody in the streets, given those bad names and all those things. But I think our families are very important, that they can come in and support us. Prayers are very critical. Moral support. Even that appreciation of that work that we are doing as a husband. We know it's not very normal for very many people to have the police work as their future employment for their children. But we want to have that opportunity of our families giving us that moral support. Even the literal love that we have as we come out and as we get in the house, the house that we are living in with our families. The support that we can get from them is very important. A supported officer by the family coming out and going to handle a matter outside in the street, I believe is a very healthy police officer.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the great insights. In 30 seconds, what would be your word today to that policeman and to the society at large in how we interact as a people? Because what's important is that we all have one goal. And of course, that's a goal of unity. That's a goal of service. That's a goal of ensuring that we are all able to cohabit, on a peaceful matter, in a peaceful ground. And, it's important that we work together towards achieving this. If we point fingers, then we might not be successful on this one. So as we talk of COVID-19, as we talk of what we're supposed to do as a people, what would be your last take?
I think for me, I think we need to build society-wide support for police officers. We also need to bring together members of the public and police officers, in fact, as far as the station level, to work together. In the past, we have had initiatives like community policing. We need to continue with this kind of innovative approaches to be able to seal the gap between police and members of the community, because each one of us need each other. Police cannot heal in isolation from the community. Neither can members of the community heal in isolation from the police. We need to have an inclusive, holistic approach to policing, but also police, community members working with the police, because our enemy is crime, not any person. So we should not lose sight and focus on each other, but focus on crime, dealing with the complexities of crime, because crime drives a wedge between police and members of the community.
All right, thank you so much. And coming to you, Gitahi Kanyeki.
Well, mine I'll just divide it very briefly in three ways. First, for my own colleagues who are police officers, let us be humane more than ever we have ever been. Let us be humane in our normal work. Number two, to all the Kenyans, let us not think that we can do without police. The police will be there, and we understand that the Kenyans will be there. We are just fighting the crime that actually is within us. And number three is all the Kenyans, police included and every other Kenyan. COVID-19 is here with us, and if we don't take care, we are going to see the worst part of our lives in this country. Let's follow all the health regulations that are given to us, all of us, including anybody, including the people at the high level and the people at the low level. COVID-19 is with us, and it's really dangerous, and it's actually coming to us if we don't take care of ourselves. Let's start with ourselves, however small we can do. Simple things: wash your hands, distancing, take care of your health, because COVID-19 is with us here. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That is the Deputy Director of Internal Affairs Unit, Gitahi Kanyeki, alongside Betty Boniface, who've been taking us through this session and how best we can look at ensuring that we also, spread some love to the police forces, because, like we say, they're human beings before they are police forces. And now that we are cohabiting together, we have no choice but to ensure that things work out the right way for every other person. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the great insights. We're looking forward to have some more, because this is a conversation that does not end there. There's still so much to discuss about the mental, stability amongst the police forces or within the police forces, and of course, generally mental stability, which is something that has been an issue, especially at this time of COVID-19, where there are very many cases of mental illnesses that have been recorded. And on that very note, we wind up this morning's session of Morning Cafe. Looking forward to see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. We update you some more on the stories that will be making headlines then. My name is Linda Alela. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing, and keep it TV47, the home of untold stories.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
To get this as your Skiza tune, type the word Skiza, space, type the code 558003